As part of our transition series, we're going to talk about autism residential options today. Did you know that 86% of adults that are autistic or that have intellectual development disorders, challenges, either live at home or they live with a relative or they're in a group home? Now, so what's going to happen when you can no longer take care of your severely autistic son or daughter, your kiddo that has multiple, special needs challenges? You can no longer, go to that group home and see what's going on, or your relatives that are taking care of them can't do it any longer. That's what this episode's about. It's about to look for when you're out there checking out other facilities and other programs. So there really is a better future for your adult child. And we've been on this journey for a while. Our son is 35 years old. He's severely autistic. He's nonverbal. He has pica behavior. He has seizures. He has a variety of other challenges. And so we want to take you on a journey along the lines of what we found. And today I'm specifically going to talk about 5 new facilities, largely on the East Coast. They're under construction right now. And a little bit about each one and some of the things that you maybe should look for when you're out there checking out residential programs wherever you live. And I'll highlight some of the key aspects that, based upon our journey and a lot of the parents that we've talked to, we think are pretty darn important. At the end, I'm going to provide key takeaways. So once I go through all 5 of these, I'll give you a checklist of key takeaways, things to look for. I'll include some of the insights my wife and I have learned. And we'll have citations for all the research, links to all these different programs. And then in future episodes after this one, we're going to continue on our journey because we haven't found the ideal place yet, but we're trying to stay up to date with what's out there around the country so that we can also share some of that with you guys as well. So the first construction project I want to talk about is in Red Bank, New Jersey. It's a new apartment complex. It was talked about yesterday in Disability Scoop. That was August the 26th. And they're building 32 one-bedroom units. And they're going to have staffing quarters on the ground floor. So we think it's real important. One of the things to look for is staffing that's co-located with your kiddos, right? And as we know, parents severely autistic, profoundly autistic, other parents of kids with special needs, you need the staff there 24/7, So if there's a problem in the middle of the night, they're there to take care of it. This is called Thrive Red Bank. It's a partnership between Parents with a Plan, which is a nonprofit, and Rutgers University. And partnering with the university has some real advantages, which I'll talk about here in just a little bit. The amenities are what are interesting because this is a building that's built from the ground up for this population. So low voltage lighting, right? We know that fluorescent lights tend to cause our kiddos to go crazy sometimes because the buzz and the weird colors and all that kind of stuff. Sensory friendly gathering places that aren't so noisy, right? Where there's comfortable furniture to sit down in. Drains in the bathroom on the floor. This is pretty obvious, right? If you've ever, had a kiddo that leaves the shower on because they just don't care. Faucets and ovens that turn off automatically if left on. So some pretty cool things. The problem with this particular complex is, though, the staffing ratios aren't what we need for our population, and it's not cheap, right? It's $5,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. Now, if you're in Massachusetts, you can go over to Tewksbury, Massachusetts. There's a new planned community. It's being developed by Melmark. I think they're pretty well known in that part of the country. It's on 3 acres, and this is sort of cool, right? This idea that you've got a campus-like setting or a mini campus-like setting, but also near enough a community so that there's some options to participate with a lot of the neurotypical folks in the normal day-to-day life kind of stuff. They're building 4 residences on this 3 acres that are going to accommodate 20 adults. And they're going to have a day program for 50 more folks that don't live there. And they're also building a coffee shop, for vocational training, which will be sort of cool, right? They're going to have all kinds of daily living activities, how do you dress yourself, brushing your teeth, all that kind of stuff. Community engagement programs, which we think is super important, recreational opportunities. One of the things to look for, we believe in any home, is this mix of fun and joy with hopefully a vocation or a job that your kiddo enjoys, right? And so there are lots of jobs out there that they're not going to like. And so having enough variety so you find something or the staff finds something that they actually get some juice out of is a big deal. This particular community is really around full community integration, and also is going to help them age in place, which we think is really cool, right? So think about a senior living facility, right? You maybe start out in independent living, then you move into assisted living, then finally you may end up in nursing. Well, having that same kind of integration for our kids as they grow old, right? They start with independent living as much as possible, right? Or maybe they have to start with assisted living, right? That there's a staff person that's helping them do a lot of things like our son, but they still can be as independent as possible. And then before they pass away, there's a nursing home there, and it's all on the same campus in the same community. So it's in familiar settings, if you've ever done this, and we've done this when we moved from a community outside of Austin to right next to University of Texas campus, our son was distraught. I mean, for several months, it was a challenge. Actually, it was a challenge when we moved from Dallas to Lago Vista. And we learned the hard way after a couple months of no sleep not to do that again. So when we moved from Lago Vista to Austin, we took him to the house, and he was used to spending a day or two here. So it took a couple months to get him acclimated to the house and everything else, so that when we finally did make the move, it was no big deal. So we'd recommend certainly thinking about that and looking for a community that once they're there, once they're used to everything, it's no big deal for them to move from a more independent setting to a more assisted living setting to perhaps a nursing home at the end. Another community I want to talk to you about is in Conway, South Carolina. Oak Tree Farms is building 48 new residences, 48 apartments, and 2 new buildings. They're also looking at an independent living model, which we think is a big deal. And the community is going to have access to transportation. There's going to be life skills training, of course. They're also going to have an amenity center, a swimming pool, on-site facilities. And so this is pretty cool. And it's tailored specifically for adults with autism or related disabilities. Then in Florida, we have the Haven Jake's Place Group Home. Their groundbreaking was in April of this year, so it's not done yet. It's a new 6,000 square foot, 8-suite home. Everyone's got a private bath. This is a big deal, right? I think private baths are pretty darn important. I mean, situations where you've got a shared bathroom might work for a little while, but long-term, I think there are many advantages to, especially if your kiddo enjoys, spending a little bit of extra time in the bathroom or a long shower and someone else is waiting, and that causes frustration and behavior issues and everything else. They're also going to have a sensory room, a theater. They're providing 24/7 staff support. This is the ninth single family group home they've built. And so they know what they're doing. And it's in a prime location. It's within walking distance of the mall at University Town Center. Evidently, there's this Nathan Benderson's Park, which has a pretty cool rowing facility. There's Moat Marine's new science education aquarium. Aquarium sort of sound cool. And all kinds of restaurants and entertainment. So we like the variety of places to go at the Haven Jake's Place in Sarasota, Florida. And then Patuxent Commons in Columbia, Maryland. They had a groundbreaking back in October of 2024, so not quite a year. It's a 76-unit mixed intergenerational community. And this is a partnership between Mission First with the Autism Society of Maryland. About 25% of those units are going to be reserved for folks with autism disabilities. But they're also going to have seniors living there, and they have other people living there. So this idea that, you mix someone that's older that maybe is in a wheelchair, and you've got your son or daughter that's, while they're autistic, they're physically very able-bodied, and maybe part of their job is pushing a senior around in a wheelchair, part of the day. And they develop that bond and that relationship. But for the seniors that are more mobile, of course, they come on over and help with therapies and other activities. So this idea of mixing seniors with this population has been tried, and I think it's worked successfully in other parts of the country. There are always challenges, but this is an idea that we like, and it's something that I think the Autism Society of Maryland is supporting. And Mission First has been doing this for a while. They have, believe it or not, they're serving 6,000 people. They've got nearly 4,000 apartments. So again, they've sort of got the track record. And I'm not up there. I have not looked at their facilities, but it sounds like at least if you're in Maryland, it'd be worth checking these folks out. Again, they're located in Columbia, Maryland. So what are the key takeaways? So my opinion as a parent, and my wife, I think, would share this, look for something that's new and modern, right? Not something that's dilapidated, not something that was not designed for this community, that's been sort of retrofitted, but a place that you would like to live, right? Accommodations that, are designed for this population. So what does that mean? We've talked about lighting, right? That, not too bright, things that can be adjusted. We've talked about sensory friendly gathering places, drains in the private bathrooms, and having a private bathroom, things that turn off automatically, whether it's lights, ovens, faucets, AC, heat. They leave and things shut down because they never pay attention to turning anything off. We actually use cameras and with motion detection and audio. And so what happens is if our son gets up at night, the motion detector goes off. We know he's up. And then we have audio. We can listen to what he's doing, and we can even talk to him and say, get back in bed. And then we can watch on the camera, see if he gets back in bed or not. So there's those kinds of devices. They're not expensive. And I think they're being integrated more and more into residential settings. The full community integration we think is hugely important, right? That you're not out in the sticks on an isolated campus, that if you're on a campus, it's either inside or near a community or adjacent to a community where there's not a big drive or anything, to get to all the neurotypical activities, the movie theaters, the bowling alleys, the indoor trampoline parks, all the things that are fun that people enjoy doing that they may not have access to if they're sort of isolated by themselves. And just that mixture of neurotypical and neurodivergent is a much more normal dynamic. And we've seen some very cool things in some of the programs we've been involved develop as a result of that. Things you might want to consider is near a college or university campus. I mentioned Rutgers is working with some folks, as we talked about originally, in this first community in Red Bank, New Jersey, and they're working with the parents with a plan, nonprofit. We had University of Texas come in and really help us, and you can often find students and they get course credit. So either they're getting paid by the university or they don't get paid at all. So there's an advantage there in terms of just the cost. And then the professors come on over and talk to you, look at the program, help design the program. So near a university where student housing maybe isn't all that expensive, where there's an acceptance of a very unusual set of folks and different types of people, and it's just sort of the normal that everyone's very accepting of anyone with challenging behavior, because some of them have challenging behavior, is always a great thing. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that senior integration. We have a respite home. So we actually purchased a home where we've got 8, 10, 12 folks that congregate before they go out into the community during our day program. But right down the street, like a block away, is a senior facility. And so we haven't tapped into this yet, but certainly there might be some vocational opportunities at the senior facility where they go over there and help clean and do other things, or maybe some of the seniors could actually come on over and engage with some of our folks. So that's it for this episode. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll continue talking about more of this. Have a great rest of your week.